And welcome back to Florida Powerboat Club's YouTube channel. We're back in the studio in Pompano Beach, but it's the new studio. Yep, we had the old studio, but we moved and still in Pompano. But producer Ryan McCoy, along with your host Stu Jones here in Pompano, getting ready to continue our coverage of the 2024 season. Where we last left off, it was the winter fun run to Key Largo. It's a January event, the end of January. And where we left off, we had a group of about 25 boats arriving in Key Largo for lunch and continuing a beautiful weekend in the winter. So before we get started, let's thank our sponsors. Our 2024 event season is presented by Mercury Racing Wide Open. And alphabetically, our series sponsors include Cigarette Racing Team, Concept Boats, Cortez Cove Marina, Deep Impact Custom Boats, Fountain Powerboats, Iconic Marine Group, Midnight Express Powerboats, MTI Marine Technology Inc., Myco Trailers, Nortec High Performance Boats, Performance Boat Center, and by SD Marine Group Isla Morada. And it's a familiar sight for many of us as we fly underneath the US 1 bridge at Key Largo. That's Gilbert's off in the distance. No, we're not flying a helicopter under the bridge. That's Tyler's drone, and he's having a lot of fun with the drone. You're going to get a ton of content from Tyler Jones as we go into the year because he's flying his drones. He's got 4 of them now and flying them on every event. A nice array of high-performance hardware arriving at the docks at Gilbert's. What you're not going to see at this event is 10 rows of boats out 10 or 12 deep. No, that's the Key West Poker Run and maybe even the Miami Boat Show Poker Run, where we get this massive fleet of fiberglass all jammed in. And this time it's going to be a little more manageable with, I think, 26 registered boats. More than half of them now arriving here at Gilbert. You can see back up Jewfish Creek, there's a whole bunch of people. And, you know, everybody's just kind of in a chill, patient mood. You can tell that there are no wakes present and no movement on a lot of those boats because they're just saying, okay, time to get patient. Let's get the dock lines and the fenders out, and let's not rush this. We've only got 10 more miles to go after lunch. So nobody seems to be in a real big hurry here this morning, and that's the way we like it, especially on a beautiful winter day here at the end of January. And we always make time for our crew introductions. This is Alexander Daskaloff from Fort Lauderdale in what is appearing to be the very first 48 Verve built by AZIMUT on one of our poker runs. It's powered by triple Merc V12 600s. A beautiful, sexy performance cruiser, a boat that came out from Azimuth about 3 years earlier. They have a couple versions of this boat in varying lengths, but the 48 has been the most popular model and certainly the first ever in our club. And there's that money shot of Jewfish Creek. What I like to see is everybody off plane. Look at the spacing in the boat. So I've got my cigarette out front. Looks like we've got a fountain center console behind, but everybody's chilled out and spaced out nicely and just enjoying this beautiful scenic ride through Jewfish Creek as would be our arrival point really into Key Largo. And I've always called it the gateway to the Florida Keys when actually we entered the Keys a few miles earlier. Looks like Brant and Jamie and time to get a room, guys. Oh yeah, well, his first mate is showing a little affection this morning. That means that he probably gave her a great boat ride this morning and didn't go too fast on their 2004 completely refit 38 fountain center console. And that's a big change from their 32 skater that they ran with the club for many years. I'm not sure if they even still have the skater, but nonetheless, I think the center console has really moved into, I think, a better fit for their boating lifestyle here with Florida Powerboat Club. And another newcomer to the club, this is James Matarazzo and his first mate, Heather. They are in this 40-foot Baja, the only Baja registered for the event. Came a long way to join us, all the way from Lake Winnipesaukee, which is home to them and where they do most of their boating in the summer months. We were able to go up and visit them at Lake Winnipesaukee earlier this summer and got a chance to see what that poker run up there is all about and James and Heather rolled out the red carpet and in fact took us out for dinner one night. Nice to see all the different boats and club members all around the country. And when we visit these other poker runs, that gives us that opportunity every summer, and we really enjoyed it. And another nice overhead shot of that new 48-foot Verve. Team I'm Batman. I think it's going to be the biggest or maybe the second biggest boat on the run, but you can see just the size of it in comparison to these two Midnight Express 43s. It certainly is a big platform with a lot of beam, and it certainly has a lot of cruising comfort because of its size and beam. Still has a full cabin down below, so it really is a dual purpose boat. Look at the lineup of all the different center consoles on this run. Guys, this is the way of the future for Florida Powerboat Club anyway. Yeah, everybody still loves those fast cats, and some of us old school guys like me and a handful of others still enjoy our old school performance boats. There's a good example of what I'm talking about right there, with a bunch of cats up in the front row, then 4 performance V-bottoms making a sandwich out of that center console on the next row, and then here we go back to the cats, of course. Mostly outboard powered cats. Obviously the Mercury Racing 450s and the 500Rs are a big hit right now. Even a handful of stern drive cats still prominent around the club, as you can see by those 2 MTIs and that big Nortec. That's a 4-engine Nortec, by the way, that big gold 52 there. So nice to see a nice variety of boats on this run. And check out Team Never Enough. He's got all of that marine mat or sea deck right down the middle, making it easy to get on and off the boat, or at least get access to the engine rooms without sliding off the back of the boat into the tie bar. So yeah, a really eclectic mix of performance power on this event for sure. And a nice overhead shot of Gilbert's, reminding everybody just that this really is a little resort that has a little bit of something for everybody. They got a pool, hotel rooms, a nice restaurant, lots of parking. And here we are. You know, can't imagine that at the end of January, you look around, you see everybody's hanging out on their boats, and, you know, we got everybody's in T-shirts and shorts and bikinis. You know, who'd have thought that you'd have 80 to 85 degree temperatures at the end of January? You know, we've done this event in the past where we had 40s and 50s Fahrenheit on occasion, but somehow magically we got the warm weather, and that brought out the bikinis, and that makes it, I think, a great poker run on our very first day here, having lunch in Key Largo. And we passed over lunch. We didn't really show you much of that, but we're back out on the boats now for the shortest run, about 10 miles really from Gilbert's Key Largo through these mangrove waterways, which is a lot of fun, especially when there's not too much traffic there. It's really enjoyable to make this first 10 miles through scenic Key Largo. Arriving now in what I like to call Sunset Bay. It's not even really easy to see what the name of the bay is on your marine charts, but it's really the last big bay before you leave Key Largo. And because of the sandy bottom content and the fact that it faces due west, this is a great place for sunsets. And it's also a great place for doing photo and video of the boats, because look at the color of the water. No exaggeration on that speed. That was one of the 3 cats registered by George Ariano. The second one coming along now is a 39 MTI full-on race boat. But yeah, George has got a big entry roster here on this event. 3 boats out of the 26 registered. The flagship of its fleet, it's a 45-foot Victory Cat full-on race boat converted to pleasure. It's powered by Mercury Racing 1550s. And there's a closer shot of that Victory Cat, all rigging done at TNT Marine in Miami. And as I mentioned, Mercury Racing 1550s, this boat can really run. I believe this is the second time we saw this boat on a poker run. He attended the Emerald Coast Poker Run a couple of years earlier. And a strong showing of cigarettes on the run. 2 of them center consoles. This one is Jeff and Brenda Jacobs from Maryland. A cigarette 39 GTR called Triple J's, powered by Triple Mercury Racing 450Rs. And some of our newer members, they've attended a couple of events with the club. I think came to the Bahamas a year earlier. This is Robert and Angie Nelson, all the way from Arkansas, in their Midnight Express 43. 2 registered on this event. And seems like everybody's coming into the bay waters now, led by, looks like Paul Eisen in his 42-foot cigarette, and a whole bunch of boats just making this final leg from Buttonwood Sound into our bay, which still is remaining nameless as far as I'm concerned. Zoom. Wow, somebody's in a hurry. You've got a really a perfect situation here if you're in a cat and you want to go fast. These bay waters are so calm and protected, and you can really enjoy the performance of your boat going through these waters, especially when you get out into the open bays. Ed Stella in his SD41 cigarette, second event for him. He joined us for Key West a year earlier. And then one more time with this a big 48 AZIMUT. Seems to be getting a lot of love from the drone. I think it's because he's going slow, and it's so much easier to fly a drone on a boat that's just cruising along at a slow speed. So he's getting all the love from the drone today as he enters into this final bay area where we're going to be docking over at the Playa Largo Resort. And why I keep talking about this no-name bay, it really doesn't have a name on any charts on my Navionics or on Google Earth or anything. Some people call it Rock Harbor, but ironically there really are no rocks here. It's one of the nicest sandy bottom bays in the area, which explains the color of the water. You can see the brilliant bright green, very kind of like almost azure water, and that has a lot to do with the bottom. Unlike a few miles away, you've got Blackwater Sound, which has a lot of weed content on the bottom, and the weeds are dark in color, and therefore the water is too. So that has a lot to do with what the bays and what the waters look like in the Florida Keys. And we're all getting settled in here at the Playa Largo Resort, and what I would consider to be a large dock. I think it would be a stretch to call this a marina. It's really not a marina. It's some transient docks that were built at the resort a few years earlier, and you can see it's really just a long bulkhead, or T-head if you will, and a long bulkhead coming out. So it's really just two long sections of dock. What's interesting though is that you'll see that where the cigarettes are in the background and the boats that are actually nosing into the dock, those are slips that were created, but they're very narrow beam. Most of them don't exceed 10 feet. So it's a stretch to get anything more than like a cigarette Top Gun. I can see that the Fountain 38 managed to get in, but he's probably got about 1 inch of clearance on either side of those pilings. So the skinnier boats can get into those slips while the rest of the boats have to raft up on this outside bulkhead. So naturally, we want to try to place similar boats together, like we've got the two big cats out front, docked together, and then another row of catamarans behind them. And then you could see that we turn the rows and face the other way. That allows us to hang the bows of the boats off the end of the T-head so we could get 4 rows in. This might be the closest to perfect docking scenario that I've seen on a Florida Powerboat Club run in a long time. Everyone followed the guidelines, and by doing so, it allowed us to get maximum use of the dock. Now, once again, looking at these slips, see how skinny they are? We managed to get the one MTI cat in with not a lot of room to move. But if you look over on the left side, all of these cigarettes and these center consoles that have, say, less than 11-foot beam were able to get in, nose in. And notice how they're all tied. It's a very sort of strategic way to do it because you want to be able to easily get off the front of the boat. There's not a lot of deep water here, so you don't necessarily want to back in. But that's a good setup, and you can see that with our 25 or so boats that we have on this run, we still have a little bit of room and we could fit 2 or 3 more in. But I think that when you get into the 25 or 30 boat range, that's about the maximum of this dock here at Playa Largo that we can do safely. It's very calm this weekend. The winds are light and there's really not a lot of open water that's pushing on the boats. But if you get a north wind or any kind of a wind from northeast or northwest that has a strong north component, 10 or 15 miles an hour, you're going to get a lot of movement here on these docks. And that's one of the things that we were fortunate about this year, was that we had pretty good weather and it allowed us to have really a safe mooring situation here at Playa Largo, and we're thankful for that. And now giving you guys a chance to take a closer look at this beautiful resort, which is a Marriott Autograph Collection property. So would put it in the 4 to 5 star category. What we found is club members really love it because it's kind of like everything's all contained on one easy to move around property. There's beautiful views no matter where you are. Quite a wide variety of rooms here as well. And they really go from mild to wild. They have a presidential suite, but they also have these 2-story bungalows. I think they have about 8 or 9 of them that are very popular because downstairs you've got a full kitchen and a living room and a sleeper sofa, and upstairs you got a full suite with its own bathroom. And of course they have the house. It's a 3-bedroom house with a pool overlooking the bay waters. It's at the far end of the property. I've stayed in it before with Jackie, and I know a few other club members like it and like to book it every time. So there's quite a bit of variety here. But I can say without a doubt the biggest attraction for me personally is the restaurant Soul by the Sea, which is built up high right over top the entrance to the docks with beautiful bay views. It's an open air bar, and we typically spend most of our time there when we're at this resort, and I just have fallen in love with Soul by the Sea. Well, that's what it looked like and sounded like dockside as we departed from Playa Largo Resort, got out on the waterways today. All of us, really. I'm here in the Flight 1130 with Miss Jackie, Tyler, and we've got a new couple, club members, Ken and Laura Wilkins, joining us for the ride today. They recently just joined the club, and they happened to be down in Key Largo and said, "Hey, Stu, we're in the area. Can we come and play with you guys?" And I said, "Absolutely. Jump on board," and away we go. So as far as daytime destinations, we really had a few choices, but I decided that Duck Key would be the ideal lunch venue at Hawks Cay Resort for a lot of reasons, really. From the distance standpoint, it's about 40 miles from where we're at each way. So altogether, maybe just under a 100-mile round trip for the day. And we can take that trip in the backwaters and the protected bay waters, or we could go out and run offshore. So we did a little bit of both, but heading now down to Hawks Cay Resort was going to be our lunch destination. And so we got some nice shots of all the boats running alongside us in the cigarette. And once again, you can see a lot of variety in terms of the different boats joining us as we cruise through these backwaters. Very critical waters too, by the way. Might add, guys, that there are certain channel marked areas that require everybody to pass through on a single file. And this particular bank, for example, we just passed another boat that was northbound. We're of course southbound, and there's absolutely no room to be running 2 or 3 abreast through these channel marked areas. Now we are arriving at Hawks Cay Resort, and we've got, looks like Tori Robeson coming up alongside in his 39-foot Top Gun. And arriving here, if you haven't visited Hawks Cay Resort before, you have this entry channel that goes around the perimeter of Duck Key. It's a nice scenic ride as you come in. You've got like beautiful homes on the left and ocean view on the right, and then bang, you're in this giant basin, Hawks Cay Resort and Marina. This is the basin that we dock most of the boats for our events, and kind of neat that we're coming here in January because we've got it booked now for return in February for the Miami Boat Show poker run. So this was kind of a perfect shakedown for everybody to at least get the trip, in breadcrumbs on their GPS. So they had a track in here and kind of get the lay of the land. It's nice to be able to visit a place, even if it's just for lunch, so you know where it is and you kind of know the whole docking scenario. And I think that worked out well for this group because most of the boats registered here today are registered again for the event next month, coming back to Hawks Cay. So a bit of a homecoming for us. We haven't been here for a few years, and there's been a number of reasons for that, one of which is that they were redoing the marina. And most of that construction has now been completed. Not all of it, but it's good enough to get a good-sized group in. And I think that we're going to call this place home for the next few years as we are going to continue to make this our home for the Miami Boat Show poker run. So today was really just a good recon run for all of us, including myself as an organizer. And there's a good example of how we do the slips here. They've got pretty good deep water. You can stern into most of the slips. You have to be careful with some of the stern drive boats. with these low water pickups, just to not pick up some of that silt as you get in close to the seawall. With the outboard boats, it always makes sense to trim up and get your motors up close to the surface once you're docked and tied in. So a little bit of current to deal with here too. So those of us with bow thrusters and the ability to dock inside current, these end slips are the hardest ones to get into. So you have to be prepared. So while the entire group settles in for lunch at Angler and Ale, I took my son Tyler and our first mate Tim for a boat ride in the Cigarette. Now, our plan was to go further south, and we're actually going to get into Marathon and position ourselves for a ride in the helicopter. We decided to book a chopper for the afternoon for after the lunch stop. So the three of us took off. He's always got a cast on. Nice look at the 565s from Mercury Racing now, moving into well over a year of service for me on the Cigarette since we put those motors in, and seem to be running just fine. So the plan is to rendezvous in Marathon with the helicopter, and we did that at the Island Fish Company, which has a landing pad right next door. And we sat ourselves down for lunch and waited for the phone call from the pilot to say we're going to be landing soon. And we got the phone call, but it wasn't good news, and it was basically, Stu, we can't fly today. So the helicopter was broken, and we didn't really have a backup plan. So we ended up hanging out in Marathon, and we didn't even get a chance to hang out with the rest of the club for the lunch at Hawks Cay, but not really a big deal. We had good plans in mind, and sometimes we just got to continue on and enjoy our day of boating. Well, certainly the weather held out, and with the Cigarette running great, we had a wonderful ride back from Marathon to Key Largo. We eventually caught up with the rest of the pack, and we still had another night, of course, in Key Largo at Playa Largo Resort, and a lot of people were going in different directions because we recommended to everyone to try something new and different off property. So almost everybody got a chance to go try out a different restaurant, and there's several choices in Key Largo. They've got a lot of great dining nearby. So that's one of the things I really like about Key Largo. You can stay at the resort if you want to, but you don't have to. There's plenty to do in and around that town, and I think everyone really enjoys the flexibility of the program. I would have to say it's probably one of the less structured itineraries that we have, and by design, because really we don't have a big group. It's 25 boats and maybe 60 or 80 people, something like that, without the poker run format. So there's no poker cards to gather up and no banquets to assemble. So we really try to keep it loose and casual, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people really like that about this run. Of course, we don't have that option on the bigger events with 60, 70, or 80 boats, but we adjust our agenda according to the size of the group. Now, another stopover as we head back from Marathon. We now stopped in Isla Morada. This is SD Marine right here in Isla Morada at Snake Creek Bridge. This is their new facility that they bought about 3 years ago. And you're going to see a different landscape next time you go there. These buildings that you see over along the shoreline, these buildings have all been excavated, they've all been removed, and it's one giant open clean lot now. So they're really getting themselves set up for some special events in the future, especially with Florida Powerboat Club. As always, it's a very popular fuel stop for us because we're able to bring the fuel trucks in. You can look down and see the fuel truck there serving some of us. So they're bringing in 93 non-ethanol fuel, and that works out really well for us. So SD Marine Group really stepping up to the plate to give us, what we consider to be a landing platform for the Florida Powerboat Club, not just for fuel, but also for hospitality. What you can't see, but off the picture to the right, is the Island Grill restaurant is right there. And the other facility that is not in the frame is their giant dry storage facility. So they pretty much own that entire side of the Snake Creek, would be like the south side on both sides of US 1. So they have the big property with the huge basin, and then they've got the marina on the other side with dry storage and a forklift and service and all that. So SD Marine Group have really nailed down this venue, and being that it's at mile marker 85 in the middle of the Florida Keys, strategically you couldn't find a better location as a stopping point if you're heading to Key West or if you're heading home from Key West. To be able to get all those services with one stop is very rare. Gilbert's is great too, but Gilbert's, you can't even get near the fuel dock if it's a busy day. And sometimes when you go there, like on a Sunday, it's packed. So SD Marine Group is giving us this opportunity to set up their venue, reserve their venue, and have Florida Powerboat Club activities here exclusive to our club. And I think that's special for us. They're going to be heavily involved in the Key West Poker Run again this fall. We'll be fueling here. We're going to make this a lunch stop as well. You can see the boom of the crane there. They have a giant RT crane, a really heavy lifting, rough terrain crane that stays on property. So they can lift up to a 53 Suenos, which is about a 40,000 pound boat. So really nothing in the club that they can't lift. And if they can lift it, they can store it. And if you want your boat down here in the Keys for easy access to go running around in the Keys, you might want to consider SD Marine Group as a possible venue for you. Looking like James Johnson here just getting that big 52 Nortec Roadster up to the dock for some fuel. He doesn't pass very many fuel trucks, I can assure you, with those 4 Mercury Racing 1075s. We can take on enough fuel to get back to Miami on Sunday morning. And that is Venetian Isles. We just saw a residential area in Isla Mirada, all waterfront homes. A beautiful place to live if you love the Florida Keys. Back out here on the Bay waters, I let Tim take the helm as we head back towards Key Largo, and we're just kind of wheeling around, enjoying the latter part of the day where it's still beautiful. The sun is still out and the seas are still calm. We're just making our way back to Key Largo as Tyler decided to get some cool shots. And there we are with our cigarette racing and a little bit of the TNT Custom Marine logo. Of course, TNT did all the rigging on this 38 cigarette Top Gun with the repower of the Mercury Racing 565s. And now making it on our final leg into Key Largo. This is something you don't want to try at home, kids. No, this is off the charts. This is one of these little unmarked little channels that you can take as a shortcut to get into Key Largo instead of going all the way out and around Pigeon Key. It used to have toilet seats on it. They're not there anymore. Another resort in Key Largo that we've stayed at many times, this is a Baker's Key at Key Largo. It's a Hilton property, Curio Collection, and we have booked it for events. Many of us have stayed there in the past. You're in Stiltsville. You know how we know? There's a cottage behind you. Roberto! And a quick stop on our way home here in Stiltsville for a few photos. We say hi to our friends, the Lopez family from Miami on their big Viking, coming in from a morning fishing trip. And riding along with us today, James Matarazzo from New Hampshire, his first trip with the club. I said, James, why don't you come with me? We'll follow through this Stiltsville channel, and we'll get some pictures of you guys in front of these Stiltsville cottages, because there's not many of them left. There's maybe 5 or 6 left, and who knows how much longer they'll be standing. So, when Mother Nature takes them out, they don't have any ability to rebuild or put them back. So this is kind of a rare thing to have anywhere. But, we got some nice pictures, and then we went out offshore, and it was still really ideal conditions for the ride home, going all the way back to Pompano Beach. So a nice way to cap off a fantastic weekend at the height of winter. Who'd have thought we'd have 85-degree temperatures, and who'd have thought we'd have like these light winds where we can run offshore at speed. So Jackie seems to approve. She's having her moment of zen, as I call it, where she's just kind of chilling out, enjoying the ride. I'm kind of having my own moment of zen too, just enjoying this ride and finishing off a fantastic weekend with members of the Florida Powerboat Club on a beautiful weekend in January. And we would like to thank all of you guys for watching our channel. We're going to just go fast and furious through our 2024 season. Going up next is going to be the Miami Boat Show Poker Run, and we are going to have that episode to you in just a matter of days, guys. But we're going to try to get as many of these done before the end of the year. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy the content. It's just going to keep on getting better, but you can't afford to miss our next show. So be sure to subscribe to our channel right here, the Florida Powerboat Club channel. Click the notification bell so you'll get an update every time a new episode is released. Be sure to check out the website, at flpowerboat.com for all of the details about upcoming poker run events, as well as membership information. You can follow us on Facebook at Florida Powerboat Club and on these Instagram pages. Thanks to all of our viewers for your wonderful comments on our page, and you guys know who you are, and I really do appreciate that. But if you have questions or comments you want to direct to me specifically, please use my personal email at stu@flpowerboat.com. I check that daily, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We're going to sign off for now. This is Stu Jones along with our producer Ryan McCoy in the Pompano Beach studio. Have fun out there, guys. Be safe on the waterways. Wear your life jackets when the time is right, and always respect your fellow boaters. Bye for now.